Hello, come on in, bring your paper and something scribbly. I'm using this glorious 6B graphite stick, which is the definition of simple and satisfying, because today I'd love for you to join me in a 20-minute sketch session. We're going to be drawing this jolly otter. I feel like it needs a name as it will be our muse. Shall we go for float? Is that weird? I like to picture otters when they float on their backs, warming their tummies in the sun, or, as in this clip, quite literally going with the flow. Ooh, oh, hold on, mate. Where are you going? Anywho, in just a sec, you'll get a little countdown and then the timer is going to start. Float's reference picture will be on screen the whole time, as will a visual of the timer so you can keep track. But I'll also give you a verbal heads up when we reach the 5, 10 and 15 minute waypoints, just to try and be vaguely useful amidst my witterings. So pause the video, go get your art stuff, get comfy, and I will await your return like the patient art buddy that I am. And when you're ready, let's sketch! 3, 2, 1, sketch! And so it begins. Where are you starting with your sketch? I'm thinking I'll start with the nose. I quite like working my way out from a centre point when I'm looking at full-face references. Many may start with the eyes or by getting a loose outline of the otter shape. Wherever you are making your first marks, I wish you a peaceful 20 minutes of wandering around the page. Talking about peaceful, I'm not sure in this type of video whether you would rather listen to my random waffle or instead have chilled music. So do let me know in the comments if you have a preference. I figure if you want silence, you can simply pop me on mute. So I'm going with a chat music hybrid in this one, but there is a music only draw with me video on my channel that I will include a link to if that floats your boat. So as I'm looking at this image, I'm trying to spot the basic shapes of each area that I'm trying to draw. Having found the essence of the nose, I'm finding the angles of the lines which now surround it. And they lead me onwards towards placing the first eye. I'm trying to pay attention to the spaces between elements. For example, how far is the edge of the eye from the line that I've just drawn around the nose? The only way to see is to keep looking. So here's a little reminder to keep checking in with the reference as you go. So what material are you using for this sketch? A biro? A coloured pencil? I chose this graphite stick because today it was calling to me. I felt like I needed something solid and chunky to hold. This kind of material prompts me to be more relaxed about the lines and the marks that I'm making. On first look, it seems like a more imprecise material, but actually its pointed tip allows for quite intricate details, just like a standard pencil. However, unlike a pencil, its broad-angled nib sides allow for more expressive shading and a general feeling of joyful arty abandon. I really like that I can sketch in singular, delicate lines to mark in shapes and details, but I can waft and waggle it about on the page pretty haphazardly to get the feeling of fur in just a few squiggles. This is a handy combo when it comes to time-limited sketch moments like this, because it's really adaptable and makes the whole thing feel less pressured. And if you're wondering why today's time limit is 20 minutes, it's because of a few reasons, but the main one is that 20 minutes seems to feel more attainable as a time pocket. When we're feeling like we have a lot of things to do in the day, somehow fitting in creative playtime can feel tricky. Even trying to commit a half hour to a creative endeavour can feel like an indulgence sometimes, and yet when you think about it, 30 minutes is really not long at all. For some reason though, 20 minutes can trick our brains into thinking that we're not setting so much time aside, but we're still enjoying a decent slot of time for getting something tangible and satisfying done. Because the tangible and satisfying bit is the part which sticks with us. Time flies, but what we do in those pockets can swing through the whole feelings spectrum of pointless to worthwhile. If we commit to creative time, but it's too short to feel like we made something or shifted forwards, it can chip away at our confidence to keep showing up. And if we give ourselves more time, but we feel guilty about taking it, well, that can also goo our thoughts up. Having a time limit that feels a little too short, but also not too short, is a great way to direct our focus away from worries about what to draw, how to draw, and whether to draw. It's just a case of, here's 20 minutes, do what you can, and see what happens. Regardless of what ends up on the page, in getting it on there, you will have made some quick decisions, loosened up your fingers, and given your focus to something absorbing. And oh golly, did you even feel it go? 5 minutes has now ticked away. Where are you at with your sketch? As you can see, mine is at the let's get scribbly stage. I don't want to get too hooked into drawing the body because I'm conscious of the time and I do want to spend more time on the face. But I want to get some shapes and shading in. Cue the most free and easy, scratchy, scribbly part of this sketch, where the direction of the strokes do matter, but at the same time, who really gives a chuff? Okay, so who wants to know some otter facts? Yes, I knew you would humour me, you wonderful, curious human. Alright, here are some of the Wild Otter Trust's best offerings for us. Otters are members of the mustelid family, which is essentially the weasel family, who are distinguished by their long bodies, short legs, and musky scent glands lurking under their tails. Musky. This carnivorous clan includes badgers, minks, weasels, stoats, martens and polecats, but otters are the only truly semi-aquatic member of the whole bunch. Their eyes are placed at the top of their heads so that they can remain alert even when the rest of their body is underwater, and when they want to bob their heads under, they can close their ears and their nostrils off. Super handy. Now, here's a fact I particularly enjoy. They communicate via whistles, twittering noises, and spitting sounds. I can't think that I've ever heard an otter noise before, but I like to imagine this whistle chatter. It sounds like they have a whole range of purposes and emotions covered. I'm curious as to what the spitting sounds specifically communicate. I can picture float twittering, can't you? And here's a surprising fact. They are not born as natural swimmers. Are you surprised by that? Because I am. I would have assumed that it was some kind of instinct for them to plop into the water. But apparently, very often adults will force their young into the water for their first swimming lesson. But they don't get a pool noodle to hang on to. Looking back, I didn't get one either. I'm not sure they were fully fledged back when I was being introduced to swimming pools. But I do enjoy the name pool noodle. It pleases me immensely because it is both practical and a little bit silly. this stage, I'm figuring I should probably start filling in the eyes and shading in some values. I use the side of my stick nib to gently shade in areas of the face. And as I'm watching this, as I voice over, I'm realising how slow I might seem, but I think that's only because we are all so used to seeing art processes sped up. When an art process is shared online, it's rarely shown in full because unedited art practice is full of pauses, thoughts, hesitancies, and tiny marks that become the building blocks of bigger ones. Even the simplest of sketching sessions can be peppered with moments where the pen stops moving because the eyes are observing and the mind is marvelling. And that's more than okay. That's the whole point. So as we're approaching the halfway 10-minute mark, let's give ourselves permission to think, to pause, to ponder and peruse, to let our art find its way into the world without a rush. I know we're working inside a 20-minute time limit here, but that doesn't mean that we need to race to the finish. This is purely practice, which means both nothing and everything. We have 10 minutes of this sketching pocket left, which is plenty of time for noodling about whilst also directing our focus. Which bit of your sketch are you working on right now? And which bits are you most interested in working on more? Is the face of float your priority, or are you thinking to focus on the fur textures? Perhaps today's session is not about finding details on the page, but about exploring the light and shadows. In identifying these interests, we find intention, and this can carry us across a page with unhurried momentum. It doesn't matter how the end sketch result turns out when the reason that we're taking the path towards it is to learn something. And you can pivot at any point. No one's locking you into anything. This is your sketch practice, and you can do whatever you like. If you want to stop at 15 minutes because this sketch feels complete already, then do it. And if you want to extend into the hour beyond 20 minutes because you've been drawn in by your own drawing, well, settle in and enjoy yourself. In my sketch, I've fallen into a full-on tentative tiny mark making pocket where I'm adding the smallest of lines, twitching my graphite stick across Float's mouth and nose areas to get a sense of the details. I know at this point I had completely lost track of time and was simply absorbed in the sketch. I had the timer going on my iPad, but I also had the reference image up on there, and it didn't occur to me to do a split screen thing, and I wanted to have Float's image as large as I could anyway, so I couldn't see the timer unless I tapped out to check it. And I think at this point I had sort of forgotten about the time entirely. I know that I do have a moment in about 3 minutes time when I suddenly think, hang on, how much time's left? And in seeing that it's pretty close to the end by then, I get a slight kick up the sketching butt. But for now, the minutes are in the background and I'm finally darkening that second eye and feeling the face take more shape. It's funny, it's pretty much a given that I always draw and colour in the right eye first, and then I have a hesitancy about whether I can make the left one match it. And when I say match, I don't mean to mirror it, because most all faces are non-symmetrical, but just to echo the reference as much as possible and, for example, not have the eyes two completely different sizes. I always worry that the left is going to be a little bit wonky or misshapen, and sometimes it definitely is. I think in Float, I've managed to keep it all pretty level. In saying this, I absolutely know that it would be a good idea to draw the left eye first, because then I could draw the right side to match that much easier. But you know what? I just never ever remember to do that. Do you know that line from Alice in Wonderland? She generally gave herself very good advice, though she very seldom followed it. And yeah, that certainly applies sometimes to me and my art, especially when I'm in a brain fog moment. But hey, art is a wiggly, wandery way in to expressing something in our heads. So as long as something comes out on the page, I don't give myself a hard time for getting something a bit wonky. Friends, we are now in the final 5 minutes of this sketch. How are you doing? Have you found yourself enjoying this timed practice, or has it felt too rushed? If you've been sketching something other than float during this session, or making something, and me and float are simply keeping you company in the background, then do let me know in the comments what you've been creating. There are so many creative things that we can do in 20 minutes. And remember, the point of this time limit is not to push us to create a finished artwork, but to make a start and see how far along we might travel. Of course, we can also play with multiple time limits to help spark more creative focus and hone observational skills. For example, in my latest Skillshare class, there's a lesson on limiting time, where we try sketches of 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 10 minutes. Comparing all the sketches together is really helpful for recognising how much you can get done in small time frames and how they can help your mind to both turn off and switch on. I love an arty paradox, don't you? I'll add the link to the class in the description if you'd like to try it. I know this might sound a bit funny, but I have really enjoyed spending this time with my graphite stick. Is that weird to say? It's such a simple thing, but just sitting with this one material in my hand and a piece of paper in front of me, it's been a really calming experience. It's so important to remember that creativity doesn't need lots of different supplies to fuel it. It's our curiosity that does that. So in these last minutes of our sketching time together, give whatever art supply you are using a little cheer. It's an ingenious human invention that has somehow found its way to you, and together you are taking creativity a few steps further. What a team you make! Ba-ba-ba! Last 60 seconds! This is your final call to add those extra whiskers or shadows or squiggles if you want to. I particularly enjoyed adding all of those drooping whiskers. They are so joyful to skim across the page. As we roll towards the end, I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I really hope you've enjoyed it. This is a type of video I haven't done much of on my channel so far, and I'm not sure if it's something that you'd like to see again, so do let me know your thoughts in the comments. Regardless of how it does in the murky waters of the algorithm, I do like to vary the videos on my channel because I think creative variety does us all a lot of good. This is my unfinished and yet completed otter sketch, and I'm happy with it. When I look at it, I feel warmth because look at that cute little face. Whatever you created in this session, if you fancy sharing it, I'd love to see it. You can tag me on Instagram or upload a photo on the community tab here on YouTube. Until we meet up again, stay curious, keep making happy, and I'll see you next time.